Oh, okay, this is lab 2, where we're going to install the Active Directory Domain Services, DNS, and DHCP roles on our enterprise machine. You can think of these as we're installing an application on the server, but it's not exactly an application the way you would think of an application on a single user machine or in a single user environment. Servers have what are called roles that you add by simply installing them from within the machine itself, and these roles give you the tools and capability to perform specific tasks. Active Directory is the main database that holds most of your data about your computing environment. Of course, you know that DNS, you know what that's for. That's to translate names into IP addresses. And DHCP, as you will remember, is the tool that hands out addresses. So we will have our network that our server resides in, and the server will also be the DHCP server, so he will be handing out addresses to any other computer that gets on the network. And we can test it and see how it works. I will be using internal networking so that I won't have access to the internet, but I find that the computers, the virtual machines, move faster, and it's just easier to maintain your connectivity using the internal networking. We're also going to configure the networking so that the enterprise and standard machines have network connectivity, and to do that, we're going to have to allow network discovery in the security configuration wizard. Your book does not discuss this really in much detail, so you'll want to pay attention here to the video how I do that, or you can always Google it. And the last step I believe we'll do in this lab is to join the standard virtual machine to the enterprise domain. And you should have some experience with that. As you remember, in NOS 130 we did join a domain. If you happen to be doing this in the lab, the learning lab on campus, on the North Campus, you will make sure that you're not on the school network. When you're working on this, you won't want to have your virtual machine set to NAT, because if you do, you're going to have some issues with running DHCP on your virtual machine, and it will have a conflict with the DHCP on the school Active Directory. That's another reason I always encourage students to use internal networking. So let me get my machines up here. The last lab, all we did was just create the machines. And I have this machine running, my enterprise. And let's see what we have here. You'll remember it's just right Control Delete to get into your server. And I had changed my password, created my password during our last recording. Okay, when your machine first comes up, give it just a minute and it will populate. I'm not going to restart. It will populate with this screen. It comes up by default. The first thing I'm going to do to set up, make sure that I'm not picking up any other kind of networking that could interfere with my installation, is I'm going to come to Network Settings and change this from NAT to an internal network. That's important, so let's all remember to do that. And you notice right away I've lost whatever kind of network I had. I'm going to go in now and set myself a static IP address. video driver on this computer, which is why the mouse keeps jumping all around. Okay, I'm going to use the address 10.0.2.15, and that's also going to be my gateway. And it's also going to be my DNS. Oops. Okay. Now that that's done, I would like to go in. I don't want to have my computer named this because I don't want to have to type that in whenever I want to refer to this computer. So I don't know that the book tells you to do this either, but we will go in and rename our computer. You can do this at the command line, or we can do it just like we do in a single user system by coming down to Start, right-click My Computer, go to Properties, which is where we were originally, ding ding, and let's change our settings. And we're going to change the name of the computer here. I'm going to name this one, let's see, I'm just going to name this one Booth Enterprise. I'm going to leave it in a work group for now. Click OK. And it should give me a message saying that I have to restart. Yes, I do. So I will restart this. I'll pause this and pick this back up after restart. All right, now let's just check to make sure that the name change took. And it did. You can see now that I have a name that's going to be easy for me to remember and it's easy to type in without making any errors. So now we want to use our server manager, and this on your taskbar is a shortcut to the server manager, or you can go to Start. This is the way your book shows you. Go to Administrative Tools, and the server manager is here. We will expand roles. You're going to see most of the file structure you'll notice in a server is going to look different to you, but just try to follow along. If we select roles, we'll see that we have 0 of 17 roles installed. So let's add the first role, and keep in mind that it's important to install roles in a specific order. There's no list that says, well, you should do this first and then do that and then do that. It's somewhat intuitive. If you know you're going to have a domain controller, well, you're going to have Active Directory installed on it. So that would be your first role to install. We'll just click Next. I must get a new video card. Okay, and we're going to come up here and select. These are the roles we have available currently. we are going to select Active Directory Domain Services, and we're going to go ahead and click to add the required features, and then click Next, and Next, Install. This doesn't take long, so I'm not going to pause the video on this, and there are a few options that you have to do to get this installed correctly. You can always uninstall it and reinstall it, but you don't want to get somewhere down the road after you've got multiple roles installed and then have to go back and undo everything and start over from the beginning. Gosh, if I know it was going to take this long, I would have paused it. Okay, so it's telling me roles installed, my automatic updating is not enabled, and I don't want it updating right now. So if we notice here in this blue link, it says close the wizard and launch the Active Directory Domain Services Installation Wizard, or DC Promo, and that is what we'll do. Click Next. You can read this, blah, blah, blah. You'll get the same message, so I'm not going to spend time reading it to you. And there is not some existing forest that we're joining. We're not creating a new domain controller in some existing anything. We're starting brand new. So this is a new domain in a new forest. You give it a name here, and I'd like you to give it some name that will identify you. You're going to have to type this a lot, so don't make it too long. I'm going to name it susan.booth.com. That's me. You don't name yours susan.booth.com. Okay, the forest functional level is important because you won't have certain functionality if you leave it at Server 2003. We want it R2, Server 2008 R2. And we do want this to be a DNS server, and we do want to continue. And I'll put the same password I always put. Next. And I'm going to pause it now, but if any error messages come up or anything, I'll be sure to turn it back on. Okay, I didn't get any errors. I'm going to click Finish. And I'm going to restart. I'll pause it again. Okay, I've restarted, and I'm just about at the end of this recording. If we click on our Server Manager, and again click on our roles, we'll see that we now have two services, two roles are installed, Active Directory and DNS. I'll pick up the next video explaining a little bit more about why we have these yellow signs in front of our roles, and then we'll get DHCP installed.